Morning, my loves. Happy Friday. It's slightly darker than it was in the summer woods. I've had to wait until there's a little bit of daylight before I came out here, and of course that's going to increase and grow as we move into the darker months here in the northern hemisphere, and before you lot down south start crowing and rejoicing because it's springtime. Think of us up here. It's getting darker by the day, but that's all by the by, and that's pretty much what I want to talk about this morning. Actually, I've had so much coming through recently, and there's a real fine mixture. I know for a fact that all of you who are tuning into this morning will be refining your process in some way, and that will either be because you've been forced to refine it, or because you are choosing to do so willingly. And but there's always a subtle difference in that. I personally tend to find that within my pathway, I'm a creature of comfort. I'm happy to admit that. I will find something that fits, that works, and I will continue to work with it until it is no longer fitting or functioning in that modality, in that framework of energy. And so I've had a pathway of movement and then 4 stops, movement and 4 stops, and a lot of that tends to be with it will my way of stopping is having some kind of physical meltdown, not like a mental meltdown, a physical one where my physical body says no, you can't do that anymore. You're going to have to readjust how you do things. You're going to have to readjust what you're committing yourself to, how far wide and thinly spread your energy is. But I'm really noticing that this is not just me, this is a pattern in the field, and it's very, very related to how the planets are sat. One that always makes itself very known to me because it has personally affected me is the Saturn. The Saturn is always the master of our tests and our initiations, and whatever house it happens to be scrutinizing at the time, things can be particularly uncomfortable if we haven't got our books in order, so to speak. And those books can be anything. It can be books of the psychic records, it could be your past life timelines, it can be your finances, it can be how you do things, how you manage your day, your light working and everything else. And I always find that when these periods of time happen, when they land, when they arrive, there is an initial discomfort, because having to shift how you've got used to doing things is initially uncomfortable. It takes you by surprise. You're like, I don't want to do that. I'm quite happy where I am. Thank you very much. And then you realise that this is happening for a reason, and that you have got to adjust, to move, to flow, to find a different way of doing things. And that is a continual process with where we are. Energy at the frequency and the vibration that we wish to work with and express, it never stays still. It is constantly evolving. Just as you get comfortable in one space and one shape, you will shift, you will change, you will expand. A way of thinking that you might have thought was absolutely aligned and on point, and maybe in integrity and honouring your own personal truth, you'll find that maybe there was a little bit of illusion sprinkled into that, and you've got to refine it further. That's really what's happening at the moment. It's quite incredibly intense. As a collective message to the field, that we all refine our process, that we all look very deeply at how we speak, how we interact with other people, what energy we're sending out, what energy we're allowing to, or have given permission to interact with our fields, things that we've added our time, our space, our frequency, which is of course our greatest currency. All of this has now come up for review, for refinement. when things go into retrograde, and there's a cluster of planets in retrograde, generational planets mostly, I believe, the slower moving ones. That's when we go back into territory that we think that we've covered before, and go through the same old uncomfortable stuff that we went through previously and that we thought we'd mastered, but we didn't, not fully. And there's always this, I've experienced it myself time and time again, and I know many of you have as well, that we'll do a test. Lovely things, tests, aren't they? Do a test, and then all of a sudden you'll get a period of time where you will be free, you'll be test free, and you'll just la about doing what you want to do, adding your energy to this, energy to that, and you think you've nailed it, and all of a sudden it's back again. That's not because you failed at the previous time, it's because you're now being tested upon that particular modality, but at the frequency that you're at. So this keeps on going until we've really got it, we've really got the message. And the message that's on repeat for me, visible in the field and highly experienced by all of us as light workers at the moment, is the application of fear. Okay, fear. It's a human emotion. Fear is something that we were born with, that kept us safe, keeps us safe, in the right proportion, in the right amounts. But fear has also been used as a very effective tool for manipulation. I mean, think about what the premise of modern day religion is. If you read any of those texts, and I don't care if this opinion's unpopular, if you read any of the modern day texts, or I say modern day within the last 2,000 years or so, the majority of them pertain to thou shalt do or thou shalt be punished. If you are a naughty person in the way that we decree naughtiness, then you're going to get punished. You're going to experience this, you're going to experience that. And so when the words of men, mostly men rewriting things, if you think about the last couple of millennia, take to adjusting and manipulating texts that were once sacred, then you begin to see how the control has been inserted into the things that we once believed were utterly sacred, or not, as the case may be. But the thing that is really making itself prominent, I believe personally, the thing that I'm seeing at the moment, is the message of fear. Fear is being used to attempt to maintain control of what was the third dimension. And it only takes a little while to look at something psychically to realise what a state it's in. I mean, indulge yourself if you feel like doing it. You don't have to add your energy to it if you don't want to, but psychically review what the old matrix currently looks at, and if you're tuning into what I'm tuning into, you'll be quite surprised. It's basically a mess. Okay, it's being systematically and very thoroughly stripped down layer by layer. I mean, I saw this very clearly in the astral back in 2020. Some of you might have heard this story, but I was out in my garden recording one of what was the early Friday Ascension updates, and I'd been very clearly shown what looked like a battle scene from Lord of the Rings occurring in the astral. There were dragons, there were legions of Michael, there were legions of Anubis, and they were not mucking about. Okay, it was like, whoa, that doesn't look very spiritual, but some of these things don't. When these energies are broken down, when these old frameworks are taken apart, it can look fairly dramatic. And what I was being shown was a battle scene, which was the initial crashing of the astral, the primary astral layers, the ones that you know, in some, the fragmentation of is still close to us. But now that's been going on for a considerable period of time, and it is a concerted effort that has had no relent and is being continuously attended to. They're starting to get down to the lower layers now. The magic that the astral used to provide for the powers that were, it was on tap. Okay, how do you think that the illusion that we experienced, the illusion that we were born into, was maintained with such flawless ease? Yes, it's taken planning. Yes, it has to take an understanding of human psychology and how people work, how to manipulate them. But ultimately, there was no shortage of magic to throw at any given situation at any point. And this was stopped a couple of years ago. Boo-hoo. And so that left a question as where do they get their magic from? And the answer, as I've said previously in other videos, has been it then needs to be sourced on the surface. So what we have seen is a huge increase of the attempts to keep us in fear. And when we are kept in fear, when we react emotionally to something, when we give our energy to a situation that is triggering us because we believe it has the immediate power to affect our lives, then we are providing that magic for them. We are immediately handing over that currency. There's so many messages being shared. There's so many ways of, I mean, I'm seeing some positive stuff out of this because people are genuinely coming through with a set of resources to navigate what is being presented to us, but from a point of calm, from a point of logic, from a point of sticking to the maybe what we would regard as the laws of the land, and actually dealing with it from a calm emotional point, from a point of love, from a point of resolve, setting our boundaries very firmly. But this saying came through to me this morning, and it was on rinse and repeat, like a lot of them are. Don't be afraid of the dark. Okay, and it tallies in with the increase of the length of the nights and the darker mornings, and moving into Scorpio season, and a lot of that very powerful kind of dark goddess and Lilith energy that's about. And my good friend Lexi writes and has been talking about this. She got some fabulous information coming through about it. And automatically, as light workers, we rail against this because it's dark, because it has that underworld tone to it, because it means that inevitably we're going to be kind of digging into the shadow frequencies and the things that we are uncomfortable to look at, the parts of ourselves that we haven't wanted to look at because we've had this opinion or view of ourselves until that cage is rattled. Now is the time that we're diving into this. So this is a message that has dual application to it. Don't be afraid of the dark, but that applies to us diving into maybe the murkier aspects of our personalities, things that we really are being called to look at. And it's requiring us to be very honest about who we are, what we really think, how we really speak. Are our thoughts and our words and our actions aligned with the heart center? Because if they're not, they will be revealed. This is what's happening. There's a grand reveal out there. There's circumstances where many people are beginning to go, do you know what? I need to do things differently. I need to bring in different information. I need to follow a different set of protocols. I need to maybe listen to the words of a different teacher or anybody who's presenting themselves. But the thing is, over the course of this year, and most of us have missed it because we're so distracted or busy with what we're doing, our sense of personal discernment, our ability to look and to see at the world around us and to quickly, with lightning reflexes analyze energy for distortion and for resonance of personal truth, that has increased and grown in all of us exponentially over the course of this year, to the point where we're now all resident experts at it. That is one of the most incredible things that's happened this year, is that we've had our ability to be deceived removed, quite deliberately actually. You know, I refer again to the 29th of March when Merlin brought through the blue light. It came through our third eye, and with typical intergalactic council lack of fanfare and information, this was just dropped upon us. The light came through. The illusion, or the ability to see, believe, immerse ourselves and to live within an illusion, was completely removed. So now all of us are actually either being as truthful as we possibly can with ourselves and others around us, or we are actually actively, knowingly going about our daily business, not being as honest and as truthful, and operating with the integrity that we say that we might be. It's food for thought, and it's uncomfortable viewing when maybe you go inside and you view yourself from this perspective, asking those questions. Because until we can ask those questions and we can answer them honestly, the frequency that we are moving ourselves into, that we're aiming for, that we're calling in the masters, we're aligning ourselves with the energy of the angels, we're working with the unicorns, with the dragons, we are requesting over and over again this new, higher, brighter way of being. We want this matrix that is trying so hard to recapture our focus and attention, our energy, to just go away, basically. It's not going to, until we have nailed this personal aspect of ourselves. So don't be afraid of the dark. Don't be afraid of any of the residual darkness that you have within you, because it is coming up for review now. It is coming up to be seen, to be lit up, to be embraced, to be loved. But also, do not be afraid under any circumstances of what you are being presented with in the outside world, because it's noise, it's words, it's a show. It's a show to garner a response from us, from you, from me, from all of the other light workers, in an attempt to usher in a timeline that is going to ultimately melt away, because it cannot exist at the frequency that is being applied to this planet. Think about what the cosmos is doing. Think about what Gaia, Mother Earth, has chosen to do. She has chosen to move through the ascension process. The entire cosmos, the universe, is supporting her. We're all moving up, and yet you've got a group of people that are saying, well, no, actually, we're going to do this timeline, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's destined to fail. In fact, there is no version of that reality that is available, but in the process of doing so, they can make life as difficult as possible. We are going through the ascension process, and that's final. But there will be a group of souls that continue willingly to learn at a third dimensional frequency, and we should love them for it, because that's their soul choice. Okay, they might be affecting us at the moment, but that is only because we've given them permission to do so. Remove that permission. Do not fear the dark, okay? Because it has no power to touch you or affect your life in any way. It's funny that my throat comes up when I'm speaking about that, because obviously I've allowed that in my space and my field to affect me on occasions, because I'm human and I acknowledge that. So with the utmost integrity and self-honesty, it is time to review where each and every one of us are on this pathway, how we're dealing with things, how we are speaking, allowing ourselves space to make the mistakes that we make, but ultimately honouring every step up that we make and that we take. Maybe giving ourselves a pat on the back for it occasionally, because in the reality of it, when we look at this darkness, when we look at the shadows, when we go through these periods of tests, when we really feel that we have been kind of broken down, that's progress. That's progress. And we tend to, because we're humans and we've been programmed a certain way, to focus on the things that are hard and difficult rather than actually beginning to diligently focus on the brilliant, radiant, shining souls that we are and the power that we hold collectively. Okay, it's all about the shadows, it's all about the density, it's all about the movement, it's all about the story of the 3D matrix and what it's trying to do. So let's focus on what it looks and feels like to have a planet filled with people who are actualizing their mighty I am presence. But that mighty I am presence will reveal all of the shadows within every single one of us. And that is for us to work through lovingly at this moment in time. So from my heart to yours, sending you all so much love, I would like to invite all of you to join me on Sunday night for Sunday Night Ascension Club, because I'm going to be working with the unicorns. Everyone, I love working with the unicorns. There's always that within my personal experience is that I don't see them as beautiful white horses. I see them as radiant, almost blinding points of light. And when they turn up, things shift, they really do. So come and join me for that one. And I've also got a beautiful event on the 16th of October with my good friend David Essery, and we're going to be diving into wonderful things that Atlantis has to offer. So the information about these events will be underneath this post. And yeah, please like, subscribe, share if it's resonating with you, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.